beautiful sunny day in Spain. Triumph Street Triple RS and our models at our disposal. It should have been an analogy for making babies. However, the microphone technology gods didn't play ball, so you'll have to excuse the random blathering, but it is followed up by a simply splendid crescendo where I answer your questions.
Heated grips on, traction control off. What a splendid arrangement. Oh, we're off. Bloody hell, it's cold. Oh, here we go, here we go. Oh. So we're giving it some Repsol, and now this is a 15 litre tank, which is obviously smaller than the last bike, because apparently its rivals are much smaller. They're 14 litres, or in some case less than that. There's a queue here, mate. There's a queue here. Auto Lavado, Carlos Lavado. Top it up, please, mate. Brim it. Splendid.
For 2023, Triumph has boosted the R spec to ensure it's much closer to the RS, with a host of upgrades for this year. The R has slightly more relaxed geometry, a lower body, and it's not as racy, which sounds a bit boring, doesn't it? The R is anything but boring. Saving just shy of £2,000 over the RS, it delivers everything its high spec sibling does on the road, just in a slightly more composed manner without the shiny blingy trinkets.
Oh, just had a bit of luncheon, bit of Stuart Hickin, bit of Ray Keith, and we're on the RS now, baby. I mean, you jump on the RS and it definitely feels a little bit more executive. Obviously you've got the dash. I mean, I'm not a massive fan of the dash. It's a little bit, it's a bit too try hard, I think. But then of course you've got the Brembo master cylinder and the lever, it just, the whole switch gear and everything. The cockpit feels more executive, and that's what you get for your extra 1,700 quid, obviously, apart from more power and other bits and bobs. So we're in the comfort setting. As I said yesterday, there's 4 sort of preset suspension settings. There's comfort, which we're in now, road, sport and track. Fuck it, look at this road. It's like the bloody Targa Floria. Oh shit. I've got to say, this is it's a good test of suspension. Oh, and it is bloody good, this. Really plush. But doesn't sacrifice the poise or sporting ability.
Given just how racy the RS was on track at Jerez, the most surprising aspect on the road was its compliance and bump management. Triumph has somehow made the RS naughtier and sportier, yet it's still as easy to ride as ever. The user parameters have widened, meaning the 765 is just as comfortable in the hands of your gran, pottering around town, or a seasoned racer spanking it on track. But it's worth pointing out that the upgrades for 2023 aren't as tangible on the road as they are when you're chasing tenths.
Thank you. Cheers, Uccio. Cheers. Earned this bastard today, I can tell you that. So, short gearing, more power, more extreme geometry, racier, more fun. I mean, it's got everything. It ticks all the boxes. Dynamically, it's very difficult to fault. The only thing that I'd say on track was the dash. I couldn't see when it was revving out. It was in between gears. Sometimes it was difficult to see where the red line was coming, and you just got to feel. You obviously, after a few sessions, you get used to it. But it would still be nice to have a bit more of a warning. And also, like the connection of a triple, you don't get that kind of consistency and confidence with, say, a twin. But that's, that I really am clutching at straws here. So anyway, answer to some of your questions. I put a post out as per usual, asking for some questions. Lots of questions about the 890R and the MT-09 SP. Let's get out of the way first. So, pure and simple, those two bikes are more fun than these, but they are they are less capable than this in terms of against the stopwatch and sort of smooth road manners. This has it every day of the week. So it's about what you want, really. I'd say it's personal preference. If you want fun, a bit of proper hooliganism, then have the Yamaha or the KTM. Again, lots of questions about the seat. Martin Brun says, how comfy is the seat? Same as before, it's not really designed to go touring. The biggest difficulty I had on the road, and again, this isn't a criticism of the bike specifically, the wind protection, anything above legal speeds is a nightmare. It's not very nice at all. The seat, you know, it's not a touring bike. If you want something comfy, then choose something different. Sink Monster. Hello, Sinky. Is the shortened fuel tank, I mean, I guess that means smaller fuel tank, is it a step backwards? Range has always been a positive on the SDR. I don't understand why people are making a real big song and dance of this thing. I mean, yes, you've lost a few litres and you lost a bit of range, but if you're buying this to go touring and you want mile munching capabilities, then you've got the wrong bike. So I see why Triumph have done it. They made it more compact, lighter. So for me, I don't see it as a step backwards. Personally, it helps with the more aggressive looks of the bike as well. So I'm in. Again, lots of questions about the Daytona. So I asked Triumph last night at dinner, two very, very senior members of staff at Triumph, and the answer is the same. They're not going to make it because no one's going to buy them. It's a crying shame. However, you could make your own Daytona. There are, you know, you should know yourself, guys. You can buy one of these, stick a fairing and some clip-ons on it, and you'll have a Daytona, your own Daytona, and it would be more than capable. So, and while we're on that, actually, again, lots of questions about it being a super sport bike, and you know, could you use it as a track day bike? Absolutely. The only issue is, I think I might have touched it on the track video, is that riding on track with these is a pain in the arse when you've got 1,000 cc's. I think we should start a campaign to have track days with done by capacity rather than just ability. I think it'd be safer, personally. But yes, absolutely, it's got tons of ability, tons of talent, and look, at the end of the day, as I mentioned yesterday, it is a road bike. It's a street bike. It's a naked roadster. It's not a race bike. But this injection of racing DNA, these racing genes, for this model year, it's very, very close to being a super sport bike. Brett Graybill, can you feel the price difference between the two models? Great question, great question. You can't feel it, but you can see it. You get in the cockpit and the levers are very cheap. The dash is obviously much cheaper, although I like the layout of the dash rather than the RS. So the motor is the same. It's exactly the same. It's just mapping that's the difference. So, and they're slightly different. Obviously, it's got less power, but the mapping and the delivery is slightly different, although they share the same torque, peak torque. And it's a little bit more peppy at the bottom end. It's easier to wheelie on the R than it is the RS. The suspension is very, very good. The brakes are very, very good. I mean, they really surprised me after riding on Stylemers for yesterday and most of the morning and jumping on the R. I was very, very impressed with, you know, they are just as good on the road as the Stylemers. But it's £1,700 cheaper, and that equates to £15 a month more to have the RS model. And it just feels a little bit more executive, a tiny little bit. It's a bit more, yeah, a bit more executive, a bit smoother, a bit more refined. So I'd have the RS every single day of the week. Kemper06 asks, does the new gearing make it feel a bit more of a hooligan than the outgoing bike? Absolutely. This is a massive, massive step. It's not a lot. I mean, we're talking like, you know, 5-6% or 2% for the higher gears, but it's close ratio. It basically feels like a racing gearbox, and that's great for track. It's great for sporting ability, but it also adds, you know, with that extra power and with the sort of more aggressive geometry, it just does feel a little bit more of a loony. So again, there's nothing wrong with that at all. Mark Yeats, does it make your knob tingle? Yes, yes it does, Mark. OAR85 says, do the electronic settings go back to standard when you key it off still? Yes, when you turn it off with the key, they go back to standard. It's a pain in the arse. I wish they'd be a bit more like KTM and just, yeah, it takes 5 seconds to put it back to the mode you want, but I know a lot of people like me don't like that. RM Sheridan, has any of the rawness returned, or is it another step down the refined path? Great question. I think I've covered this slightly, but I would like to elaborate a little bit more. Triumph wanted to inject some rawness, inject some of that original bike to it, because they admit the bike went down a path, the refined path, and it was almost, they didn't say this, but it was almost too good. There's definitely an element of rawness come back, so I don't know what it is. You can't quantify it. You can't say this is why, or certain aspects of the bike and the changes, the upgrades are doing this, but you ride it and it definitely feels more raw, a bit more aggressive, and the sound, I don't know, it's just yeah, it definitely more raw. Are the chassis changes drastically noticeable over the last model, says Loki CPH. On the road, you can feel them. It's lighter, it's more nosy, and it definitely feels a bit more edgy, but you feel it more on track. The faster you go, the harder you ride it, the chassis changes become more palpable. So if you're just pootling around, if that's your job, you just want it to poot around on a Sunday and you're not really interested in going that fast, then is it worth the upgrade? Probably not. It sounds the same, looks very similar. On paper, when you look at the changes, really they're quite small changes. Obviously you've got a lot more power, 8 PS, 7 horsepower, whatever it is, but they add up more when you ride it. So yeah, I can't remember what the actual question was, but I'll just say yes. Jaeger.mh, can I fist the intake? No, you can't. Sean M. Pierce, is it too expensive when compared to the competition? I mean, a bike this capable, this naughty, for just over 10 grand, I don't think it's too expensive at all. Triumph really, and this is something, again, let's kind of going off subject, but Triumph really focused on making it look a bit more premium. And without adding Gucci bits, I'm just talking about the touches. Every single fitting and fixture, or the electronics or cables, is all hidden. Ducati are a banger for that. They love it. They love just making a naked bike and just leaving everything on display. They put a lot of effort into this, and it definitely has a premium tag. Kevbike272, love this question. Is it elbow down friendly? Absolutely not. No chance. There's some proper elbow down heroes the last couple of days, and it's an absolute no. Unless cameraman has seen any elbow down. No, he's shaking his head no. Although someone got his elbow down on the road yesterday because he crashed it. Pedro Silva, this is another sort of frequently asked question. Is the anti-wheelie separate to traction control? No, it's not. And that is obviously, I think, one, to save money and faffing around. Triumph spoke to the customer and said they just want something simple, and they basically worked on the system to incorporate the whole lot. So basically they want something, the customers want something easy and user-friendly and intuitive to use, rather than going through loads of menus and taking things off. If you turn the ABS off and the traction control off, you can wheelie like a good one anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Right, that concludes the questions. I'm off for a top up. Mañana.